Campbell. Marc Joffe is a federalism and state policy analyst at Cato Institute. For years, he has been the thought leader in promoting machine-readable data for governments. After a long career in the financial industry, including a senior director role at Moody's, he transitioned to public research, having most recently worked with the Reason Foundation. He has an MBA from New York University and an MPA from San Francisco State University. Campbell, we're very honored to have him today as the president and CEO of XBRL. He brings significant experience in technology development, accounting, and finance to the organization. Before becoming the president, he was the lead. He led the development and maintenance of taxonomies as chief standards officer, playing an integral role in the executive teams. He had joined XBRL from Morgan Stanley, so he has a lot of experience to this. So I think they're going to give us some demos, and then we'll be open for questions.
Well, I'll get started while we're getting the technology to work. Thanks very much, Sheila. So when I watched the debate over the FDTA, I heard a couple of things. One is there's a lot of fears that the implementation costs are going to be enormous. I saw one estimate of as high as $1.5 billion over 2 years to implement it. Different kinds of special districts, non-GAAP entities will have trouble conforming to this. I thought it was a little strange because there are two things you need to know about the FDTA that I think are extremely important. One is that it doesn't have any new reporting. So we're taking the existing 30 to 40,000 PDFs that are produced every year and trying to bring them into a new format. Some of that will have to be tagged. Not all of it has to be tagged. That's a decision that the SEC and hopefully if GASB is engaged, we'll get involved with, and we can see hopefully a low cost way of implementing this. I think the second thing to consider, and we know that the standard has not been determined yet, but obviously, we here who are associated with XBRL US believe that inline XBRL is the right choice. It is the one that is being used at the SEC since I believe 2018. And what is inline XBRL? Okay, all it is an HTML document with special tags. Now, I'm in technology. I've been in technology since the 1980s. I've prepared thousands of HTML documents. Many of you know you can go into things like Wix. You can go into online tools and produce, HTML documents. Now, there is one piece of special sauce here, which is that within the HTML document, there are special XBRL tags that have to be applied. But there are plenty of software offerings that do that. So, are we able to advance? Or,
Yeah, I don't know. Just advance by.
Okay, yeah.
This.
Yeah.
So,
we can go into the old presentation. So,
it's not moving.
Okay. So I'll just talk through the whole thing. So, there are plenty of different kinds of software offerings that already exist within the world of SEC reporting that are also very commonly used in Europe, because in the European Union, XBRL reporting is generally required for public securities issuers. So there's quite a mature universe of software that's available. Vendors can help filers produce inline XBRL documents by providing a document preparation, just a bespoke service. Send us your PDF, we'll convert it for you. Excel add-ins. Kenny talked a little about Excel and its role in producing the CIFA. Yes, an Excel document with an add-in can easily be converted to an inline XBRL filing. Other desktop software, and finally, web-based tools. Now, unfortunately, the demo gods are not cooperating with me today, so I can't show you my video, but I can tell you a little about what you would see, and I think it's more important to just hear, what it is that we're having. So, the product that I worked with in developing the demo, and I can show those to you offline, when during a break or offline, in future, is a product called Carbon from Iris Business Services. And again, this is just one example of many products that are available from XBRL US members. So when you get started with this tool, you can load a Word document or even a PDF, and it'll automatically load that into an HTML viewer, right? So then within that HTML viewer, you can actually rearrange elements, you can add graphics, you can do anything you would normally do in an HTML editor, right? So then once you've done that, you have to then tag, associate the inline XBRL tags with the relevant information. And what Iris has done is they've added 2 convenience features that make this tagging a lot easier. And again, I'm talking about one vendor. Other vendors are doing similar things, different, better, worse, whatever. But in the case of Carbon, the first thing that they allow you to do is click a single button, and it automatically highlights all of the numeric values in the document. This is the wrong one. So it highlights all the numeric values in the document, and those are then ready for tagging. And then the second innovation, which just came in recently, is the auto tagging feature. So what Carbon then does is it looks at the column headers and the row headers and views those against a repository of data that have been previously collected. And so then it can automatically associate, say, cash and cash equivalents for governmental activities with the appropriate tag in its repository. And so it automatically determines what those tags are. So again, this is an enormous time saver because you as the document creator don't have to look in the taxonomy for the individual item that needs to be tagged. Once the tagging is completed, you can double check it in an editor and then an auditing panel. And once that's done, you generate the inline XBRL document, and then it would be ready for upload to the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board once that capability is provided. So thanks a lot, and I'll turn it over to Campbell.
Okay. Is this working this morning? Yeah. All right. So this is the document Marc was going to try and show you. This is an inline XBRL document. This is what it looks like. So you can see this is the financial statements. This is partially had those tags applied to it. You can see it just looks like a normal document. And you can see there's these little red tags on here. So basically this information has been put into an XBRL format. This is some software that the SEC produced. Because XBRL is a standard, the whole point is that you can take any technology, you can develop new technology, and that can work with the standard. I just want to make sure that's clear that XBRL itself is not a technology, it's just a standardized way of representing data. That means as technology changes, XBRL stays relevant, it doesn't really matter. There are lots of different ways to create XBRL documents, and there are also lots of different ways to analyze XBRL documents. This is an open, non-proprietary standard, which means that anyone, a state, could develop their own software. In this case, the SEC's develop their own software, but many people take that SEC software and they use it in a completely different context. And this is the whole point, is that you can get massive economies of scale because everyone's agreed on a standard. It's not custom, bespoke development of financial reports one by one by one. Every piece of work someone does to support the standard has massive benefits for everyone in that ecosystem. So to analyze data, I was just going to go through here and just give you an example of some of the things you can do. I'm not going to do an analysis of a financial statement. I've got 5 minutes. Well, I see the presentation. The speaking notes. Let me. Hold on one second. We'll just go through on this because it doesn't really matter. But so we'll just go through some different ways of extracting the data. And so this was the county of Ogama. That's their financial statements we were looking at. And there's really a couple of different ways you can extract the data just generally. The first one that we use a lot, we take all the filings that are in an XBRL format, and then we just basically load those up into a database, and then we can pull that data. And the reason we do that is because we want to do cross comparison against different entities that are preparing data. So that's one way you can do it. That's kind of how we do it. And once that data is once that data is structured, you can do all kinds of analysis just to give you an idea of what that looks like. So this is something we can just pull the data. This is the OGML filing here, and this data is just basically being pulled, from that filing. So we've said we've done a query. We want to pull out net expense revenue, program revenue. We can pull this data out and we can get it here. It's a little bit small, but that data is coming. That data is actually being pulled from this actually filing that they've reported. It's pulling this number on the bottom, this number, this number, this number. And we have a tool on the right. You can see here, this is basically just allows you to pull data. So you can say, I want to look up a report, for example. You can pull that information up. I did a pre-thing here. So these are some of the reports. We've done like 4 of these that we've loaded into our database. Obviously for things like SEC filings, there's hundreds of thousands of filings. But if you wanted to pull up a filing, you can say, I want a report. What's the report I want? So you want OGML, you can type that in. Hopefully my internet's working. This is going over everything. So here we go, County of OGML, it's bringing up that filing. If there were many filings, they would bring those up. This database is pulling from every single filing that's ever been made with the SEC or been made with the FERC in an XBRL format. So in one plugin, you can get access not only to data for public entities, but you can also get it for SEC registrants, or you can get it for FERC utilities, and we're adding banking data as well. And this is kind of the point of a standard. Once it's in a structured format, all that data is available to you. You can cross-mingle it, you can extract it, and then you can do analysis across many different entities. And this can be very useful for many different purposes, because many times you want to compare data not only within a government, you may want to compare it to other data sets as well. So this is one way you can do it. You can put it into a database, you can pull that data out. The second method that we use is you can extract data using an API. We have an API available for this as well. So that if you want to pull that data, you can do that through the API. I think I have a link to that here. Just click on it. Should be able to click on this. And so this data, this is just pulling the data straight from our database. So you can get it in a JSON format. You can have it in an XML format. You're not locked into any particular data format to get this data. You don't have to go and necessarily go and buy very specific software that will only work with XBRL. You can get it into a JSON format, an XML format, and you can get it into a CSV format or whatever format you like. So the other thing you can do is, there's one thing is you can take that data, you can load it into a database. We make a lot of those tools available. We make those available for free, so if people want to do that, they can set that up. But you may just have a filing, and you may just want to pull data from that filing directly. You don't have a database, you don't have that infrastructure. You can do that as well. And there's a number of different tools you could use that. Just standard programming language. We've developed our own query language, which we make freely available as well, called Zool. And what that allows you to do is you can write an expression. This is an expression here. And what this does is, it's probably a little bit smaller, bigger. We say we just want to pull the activities and expenses and revenue for programs. This is basically defines one of the schedules in the ACFA. And if you put this in, you can basically just pull this data and you can pull it back, and it's going to get that data. And it'll bring back a file. When we can run it, I'll just run it here. So I can run this. I can just run this script, and it's going to pull back. It's going to pull back that data. So then this goes and pulls it. So I've just pulled all the information straight out of the financial statement of activities. And that's just pulling, if you check these numbers, this is the 27,399, you go back, that's just pulled it out of that OGML ACFA. So you can pull that data, but you could line up 1,000 filings, and you could pull all the financial statement data, in a couple of minutes from hundreds of filings. We've gone through that exercise of doing that with PDFs. It's very, very painful. You do not want to do that. And there's a lot of error correction that you need to do. So a lot of the stuff is, this is early days. We're just kind of showing demos, but that gives you the ability, you can just, it's very easy to write a lot of this code. This is kind of code. It's kind of like a SQL, but you got a lot of options. You could use other programming languages as well. Don't use COBOL.
You can also pull information. This is just a query that we have, which, we want to pull information from the taxonomy. We talk about getting the data out of a filing, but something that's even probably more important is you can pull automatically data from the taxonomy. So that's really useful because you can say, hey, I want to pull everything out that relates to what's the kind of expenses that a local government reports. You can pull that straight out of the taxonomy. You can pull that into a spreadsheet, into a viewer. So it's not only the ability to do data analysis of the underlying data in the financial statements, but to pull information about the structure and how those financial statements are structured as well, which is extremely useful. So this is kind of like on the fly, so if we wanted to do that, I can just refresh this. And this is pulling the structure of the database. It's giving it a while to format, but then you can see it gives you all the information. This taxonomy we have as a draft taxonomy for the act, but basically all that information we pulled, and I just pulled it into here, but you can use, it's just some random tool that we created, but anyone can create tools to do that. And finally, the other way that you can pull this data is you can just use a software application. You can just pull that data back. This is a tool called a REL that we use. So you can say, you can open a tool, you can buy a tool, or commercial tools. There's many of them who support this. So you can just go and open that filing. You can open it, and then you can, using that tool, and you can extract the data. And there's open source tools that do that, and there's commercial tools that do that. So there's a wide variety of software vendors who support it. Any tool that supports XBRL, and remember, there's over 100, there's probably over 100 countries who are supporting XBRL at this point. Anyone who's developed those tools, they can work in this marketplace. So it's not like you're going to be locked in, hey, there's only 5 vendors who support this. Any vendor who's supporting filings for European Central Bank and Europe, tools that they've written can be used for data here in the US because it's a standard. And that's really important to understand. It creates a very rich marketplace, which means that this competitive marketplace, it's not a niche marketplace, it's very broad. It means you get a lot of tools. It means you get a lot of options on data analysis. So that's what I have.